Thank you for joining me again. J.H. Tepley. She is a spiritual warrior teacher based out of England, London, England. She's an
That's right.
author of many books. She is a creator of a teaching called Aria Creed. There's a YouTube channel based on Aria Creed. And she has a fun and an exciting volunteer thing that she does that I think everyone would be surprised about. So stay tuned for that. Without further ado, my friend J.H. Tepley, how are you today?
Warsel, very well, and thank you for inviting me to this interview. I love talking to people, so this is just perfect.
Yeah, well, that's good. You are a very inspiring person, and I just couldn't wait to have this interview. So thank you for joining me doing this. I appreciate it, and my viewers appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So what is it that you do exactly? What is it? What is a spiritual warrior?
All right, so the spiritual warrior is someone who embraces his true natural power, the power that we are given to use this for the benefit of this world. You know, what sometimes people describe as gifts or talents, but there is more to it. There is that innate radiance, innate power that is, you know, some say like a godlike power. Well, when you think about it, we are all God's creation. So obviously we have some of his power. But what I'm talking about is embracing that power that is within you, unlocking it, transforming yourself, living your purpose, and well, essentially making your life a service to your community, to the society at large. So this is what a spiritual warrior does. He always tries to be a better person than he was yesterday, and he always tries to find a way to align with his purpose more and to serve the world greatly.
So where does that purpose come from? Is this something that's more of a divine thing, or is it just a personal interest that somebody develops in their life? Where does that come from?
I love this question. So many people confuse life purpose with a career path, which is two. Well, these are two completely different things. It's not even remotely there. So, career path is indeed something that you like doing and you enjoy doing, and you get paid for it, and it's all cheerful for a while. The reason why it burns out and the reason why people have those middle life crises and issues and depression later on, when they seemingly have achieved everything they ever wanted and have lots of money and a successful career. And you have probably heard stories of people who just dropped everything one day and just walked away from it and never turned back. And everyone was surprised because everyone said, like, look, you had such an amazing career, a beautiful house, an expensive car. What's wrong with you? And there is something inside us people who suddenly says, no, I can't take that anymore. It's not me. It's not what I'm here for. So a purpose is something that we are wired to find and to live like human beings. And it's not something that we choose per se, as in it's not something we enjoy doing. It's a part of who we are. It's a part of our divine blueprint. And so when you think in nature, think of plants. If you take a seed and you look at it, and obviously if you know anything about botany, you will know that from that seed something will grow, some sort of a plant or perhaps a tree or a shrub, something will grow. And so that is that seed's purpose, to become that flower or the tree. And it tries its best to manifest that purpose and to become what it was called or born or created to become. We as human beings have the same thing. We have this divine blueprint within us because we're part of the universe. So we're no different from everything else that surrounds us in that regard. So that divine power, the power of light, flows through everything, including ourselves. And we also carry its divine blueprint for us, its plan how to manifest ourselves as divine, powerful beings at our greatest. So that is our purpose. And the secret is what most people don't realize. You might have seen those charts saying, oh, how to find your life purpose. You just look at what the world needs, what you enjoy doing, what you can be paid for, and, you know, blah, 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 all of that. And it's quite popular around. People keep sharing that. But the truth is, your purpose is something that you don't want to do. You really do not want to live your purpose. I mean, you do, but your ego would not let you under normal conditions. So quite often, if you hear or read or watch stories of inspirational people, of people who achieved great things, they didn't just wake up and thought, all right, let's just live my purpose because it's such a cool thing to do, let's go for it. Instead, they spend years practicing and training their mind and taming their ego, or something really sudden and tragic happened to them that shattered their ego, that caused an ego death. And with that ego death, their purpose became clear, and now they could manifest it. Because if that wasn't the case, the majority of people would be living their purpose right now. We would be living in a completely different world. If everyone actually wanted to live their purpose and felt that they could do it, and if it were something you just simply enjoy doing, perfect. You know how easy would that be, right? So think, I enjoy eating ice cream. Boom, that's my life purpose. There we go. Look no further, right? Or I enjoy watching films. How is it? So our purpose is something that is embedded within our soul blueprint. And because our ego thinks that it's something so big, so grand, so unattainable, so way out of your league that you could not possibly go and achieve something like that. And the ego says, oh, come on, just forget it. Who do you think you are? That is holding you back. So many people don't actually even try. They do have the longing, they do have the desire, they do have the dream, but they never go for it because that fear is holding them back. It's quite to make it really simple to understand, it's very similar to what happens to some young guys who say they fancy a girl and she's gorgeous. They just absolutely fancy her. They dream about her. They think how happy they could be together and how amazing it would be to have her as a girlfriend or just to even date her. And then because she's so magnificent, so gorgeous, and they think she's just way outside of their league. She would never ever talk to them. And so it's not even worth trying. So they don't even try. This is the kind of relationship most people have with their purpose. So you have to train yourself. You have to train your mind for strength to be able to transform into a person who can manifest your purpose. So this is where the difficulty lies.
Well, that's a fully packed bit of knowledge there that you just shared. You've been doing this for a very long time, eh? So you seem to have an ancient soul with you. It's quite incredible just seeing you and hearing you talk. I mean, your voice and the knowledge in your eyes, it stands out. Now, when it comes to Aria Creed, though, that seems to be a more of a specific kind of purpose, isn't it? It's a little bit. It's not just it's not necessarily for everyone, or is it?
Well, there are different layers to it. And because right now I'm doing most things myself in terms of teaching, I'm obviously teaching some people to be, to be teachers as well. But right now I'm doing most things myself, which means that I have to limit it to the audience that I personally can serve the best, just out of practicality. And although Aria Creed is a philosophy that is applicable for all people, like it can improve the way you function in the world. It makes you better adjusted to live in the modern world that is changing. It's designed to keep you safe, keep you healthy, and keep you on point with your goals, with your real priorities, and make your life better. However, as I said, because I have to limit right now the scope of who I can serve, serving the people who I can resonate with the most, which are guys, simply because I'm a male spirit myself. So it's harder, well, kind of impossible for me to relate to the female audience. I do know things about them, but relating is a different thing. So I'm relating to people who I would like to serve and who I feel I can serve the best, who are guys, because the male and the female mind are very different in the way they process information, in the way they see the world, in the way they distribute energy as well. So my techniques, the core techniques for inner power and for becoming stronger, more influential as a person. Some people think that influence and power are bad things, but it's not true. There were actually scientific research and experiences done that showed unequivocally that when you become more powerful, when you become more yourself as a being, because we were born to be powerful. That's wired in us. We may like it or dislike it, but it's the way we've been designed or created. And so because we're designed to be powerful, the more powerful we become as human beings, the more we become true to ourselves, the more we align with our divine spirit. And what happens as soon as that, so as soon as someone feels really powerful, he relaxes, he becomes kinder, he becomes more gentle, he becomes more mindful. And as I said, there was research upon research proving that. So the way that female power is manifested and distributed and the way that male power is manifested and distributed are two different ways. As you know from even ancient philosophies, there is the yang way and the yin way, and they're both good, they're both right, but they're right for different people. So the way I teach is the yang way, is the masculine way. And so my students are male, and it's a tough training. Like it's not fluffy. It's a proper army training for the mind. Like you have to be prepared to go through really tough postures sometimes. You have to be prepared to do things that are strenuous, that are very scary, that are painful, and come out of it victorious and claiming your true freedom and true power as a man. Because one of the reasons I think, well, our world is in a place it is right now, is that we've lost the idea of true, healthy, mature, masculine power, the power that protects, that leads, that shows the way. Essentially, the yang principle is about showing the way, and it's about going forward, it's about courage and unstoppability, being unstoppable and intrepid. And so, because right now there are too many people who can be pushed around, who can change their decisions or their views as soon as someone else tells them that they're not right, without trying to stand for something. And there is an old Viking proverb saying that if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And this is exactly what's happening. So I'm teaching the guys to find the truth, to stand for something, to be strong, to be unshakable, and to be adjusted properly for the modern times, to be future ready, because we need future ready heroes. I hope you agree.
Oh yeah. What is that? What kind of things that they go through that is scary and painful? Like,
oh, your mind is a dangerous neighborhood, believe me.
yeah. I know my mind can take me places, but when you're doing your teachings and you're obviously putting them through this through these challenges, right, as part of the program, and put them through it, like, what are they experiencing? What is that like?
Well, firstly, they have to face their own, I call it the guardian of the threshold. And it's their own ego that steps in and fulfills that role. And so many times they have to come up against their fear, their limitations, something that was in their mind that they weren't aware of, inner demons that are holding them back, things that like shame or guilt or traumas that their conscious mind might have forgotten, but part of that shadow is there. So the shadow work is a very important part of the warrior path. You have to become free from your shadow. You have to understand why it's there, what's the message and whether that message is even valid. And even if when you describe that it's not valid, it still takes some courage to overcome it, especially things like emotions, because in our society, we can go and learn pretty much any skill. Well, if you want to know how to become a doctor, you just go and train, or a lawyer, or a driver, anything you want to learn, you just go, there is a school and they will teach you how to do it. However, there is no one good institution, and I mean a proper one, that teaches you how to manage your feelings effectively as a man. And lots of like therapy treatments and different kind of trainings, and especially self-development trainings. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they actually rely on mutilating their students. This is what they do. Maybe not all of them, maybe there are good ones somewhere out there. I haven't seen them. I mean, I keep an open mind. So if I find something, I will be very happy. But from what I've seen, what happens if a student comes from say a background where he couldn't deal with some emotions, some strong emotions, say a heartbreak or a trauma or a shame, and then they go say they would like to eradicate that, but instead they're given a set of techniques that make them believe that the problem is sorted when it's not. So it's almost like being on drugs. It's being like it's taking a painkiller when you have a broken leg. And instead of actually doing something about it, instead of attending to that problem and fixing it at its core, they're just giving a set of techniques that disconnect their conscious awareness from the problem. And what happens is when the awareness of the problem and the problem are disconnected, and the person believes that he's fine, now he's not going to do anything about it, because if he's good, and also his ego believes that since he spent so much time and so much money on fixing this, surely he's good. So now he stops trying to fix it, and the problem is festering under the surface. So many people in self-development industry, after coming out of those trainings, actually weaker and worse off than when they began. And I know it's probably a very unpopular opinion, but this is what I observe all around me. So part of my training is to make guys free from this emotional baggage, from those demons that are haunting them and holding them back from living their true potential. So because we do real work, it's painful, it's scary, and you know, lots of sweat, lots of tears, but at the end there is freedom. So once you work through this problem, once you face it, you know, square, and look at it face, and find this courage to admit to yourself first that yes, this is what I've been doing wrong, this is what has been holding me back, and facing that shadow, winning with it, and becoming free is a feeling like nothing else. So it actually transforms people. I have lots of photos of my students before and after that look like completely different people, because once your mind is transformed, once you embrace your power, once you become someone greater, your body transforms as well. So you commented on my appearance earlier. Thing is, it's something that is done consciously and on purpose. It's not that I was lucky or time was good to me. No, I actually decided for it to be this way. It's my conscious choice. And the more, essentially, there is a little known simple rule. Your look, in most cases, not obviously not every single time, but in most cases, the way you look reflects your integrity, because the more pain you carry with you for not living your full potential, not living who you were designed and born to be and called to be, that inner pain becomes toxic and it starts destroying the body from the inside. So the more errors, the more problems of this kind you solve within yourself, the more emotional and energy toxicity you carry in your system, meaning that your body does not deteriorate at the speed that other people's bodies do. So it's something very simple, but very true.
That's one aspect that I do teach quite often, and that You know, there is science out there, and it's, you know, how we can change our body, we can change our DNA, we can change how it all functions. And but
Absolutely.
when we get stressed out, that takes a toll on our organs, our cells, everything about our body. And yeah, so we can influence all that by the way we think and the way we act. And yeah,
Absolutely.
that's good. So one thing you mentioned though is, and I think that it transcends more than just masculine energy, goes right into female. I think it's for everyone, is that ego thing. Now, there was a video that you actually did. I watched a video on 4 stages of enlightenment, I remember.
All right. Yes.
And the first thing you mentioned in there was taming the ego, or something like that, has something to do with the ego. With all the problems that not are just around today, but it just seems like for as long as recorded history. Okay, so uh, it seems as though maybe do you think that the ego is where somewhere everyone can start in order to create a better, harmonious, healthy world? Do you think that's fair to say?
Let me make sure that I understood you correctly. So you're asking whether anyone could do something to upgrade their ego to
No.
create a better world.
Well,
No.
to work,
Okay.
I think what I'm asking is more or less of working on that ego. Because, you
Mm,
know, our ego, as you mentioned, it could cause us to go into different directions that we don't want them to go to. And
absolutely.
so when we reflect, first off, on what we want to make changes in our life. So if we want a better world, for example, we want a better world, what can I do to be part of that better world? Well, I would have to start with me, right? And so understanding
Absolutely.
that ego makes sense to me. What do you think?
So understanding your ego. Essentially, your ego is a creation of your conscious mind, and it's uh, it's a proxy. And most people don't realize it's a proxy. It's not who you really are. If your consciousness of who you really are is asleep, the mind that needs an interface of some sort will create an ego in its place. So if the consciousness is asleep, it's almost like, imagine a car. So if your body were a car, and a car to move forward needs a driver, but say if the driver is unconscious and the car needs to keep moving, then it will switch on an autopilot. Imagine that it's a Tesla. So it looks in, it realizes the driver is unconscious or drunk or whatever, and is not capable of driving. So it switches on its autopilot and it drives itself. So this is what happens. Most people are like Tesla cars in that they drive themselves on autopilot. They never become conscious of where they're going and why. And once they become conscious, then they can completely change the direction of their life, the way they express themselves, their priorities, their likes and dislikes change. But for that, they have to wake up. But because it's very rare in our society that someone does it spontaneously, hence that video that you described, because it takes some training. I believe that this is not just the right, but a duty of everyone, every living being here in the world. It's our contribution to humanity to wake up and to become fully conscious people, fully embracing our power and using it for the benefit of the world. And so you can, and well, you should, or it would be a good idea to train yourself to go through those different stages of awakening or enlightenment and become more and more aware of what is happening around you. And with that, you reclaim your power. You now realize where you are, where you're going, why you're doing that, and change the direction if needed, and actually exercise that power and share it with other people and inspire them to do the same. So essentially, enlightenment or awakening is that driver in us becoming awake, becoming aware of what is happening, and taking the life and the body off autopilot and assuming conscious control.
I like that, especially the part, you know, where you where you inspire other people. And you know, if everybody who's on that path, and then they inspire others. And I see it all the time, you know, when people get that glimpse of awakening, and, you know, they understand, and they can't wait to tell the next person, and they just want to share it with their friends and family, and they see it everywhere. It's true. I can only imagine what the world would be like if everyone did what you just said there.
It just takes a bit of training. This is what part of my work. I'm trying to demystify those concepts. It's not for someone in the Himalayas, some mystical yogi or something. It's something that we need in our everyday life to function in this world at the best of our capacity and to help others. You actually need to train yourself. I believe, as I said, I believe it's our duty to other people and the world that we become the best version of ourselves and inspire others to do the same.
So if everybody did that, you had a chance right now, forget about how this happens. You had a chance to, if the world were to be the way you envision it to be, forget how we get there, just
it would be an incredible place. Oh my God.
What would that world look like to you?
Well, it would have to go through different stages to get there, because nothing ever happens out of sudden.
We'll forget about how we get there.
Okay, so it will be full of people who consciously embrace their power, and so in that state you become magnanimous, you become peaceful, you become really full of wisdom and insight, because you become more mindful. And if you become mindful, you begin to notice things. And if you begin to notice things, then you draw conclusions. Once you draw conclusions, they all come together and you get wisdom. And if you get wisdom, you stop doing stupid things, at least partially.
Yep,
and so a world of people who would live according to their higher values, who would avoid doing wrong things for the wrong reasons, and who would have clarity and insight. It would be an incredible society of enlightened people, like the new Shambhala, but with warriors, like with warriors of the modern day.
That's awesome. Now, you're doing wonderful things in your community, and you're reaching out to people online. People can find you online. And one of the things that showcase your talent in life is the fact that you're able to put this down so that people can read. You have a gift of writing skills, and you've done some books. You are the author of,
that's right,
of many books. Is it 5 books? Am I right? 5?
I think it's 5. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, Master of the Elements, The Blueprint, Warrior Quotes for Meditation. That's right. My 5th book is just coming out this year.
That's right.
So I'm just waiting for it to come back from the editor.
Do you want to talk about that book, or do you want to talk about another book that you've done? Can you share with us what we can expect from you?
All right. Okay. So why not mention both? You know, sure. Why give people such a restrictive choice? I can talk about both books. So my most recent book is called The Lightwitch Chronicles. You're probably going to see it in the mirror reflection. So hopefully not so much, but so The Lightwitch Chronicles is a very special book because I usually write textbooks, so factual books and exercises, but this one is very different. So The Lightwitch Chronicles is about warriors for warriors. Essentially it's a story, but it's not just a fantasy story that you read for your amusement. It's a story that you can follow and learn from. And actually some of my students said that just reading this book helped them wake up. So it caused their spiritual awakening just by reading it. And this book is designed this way. So sometimes people say that it's like The Alchemist, in that you learn certain lessons about yourself and about the world as you are following the characters. And it's, I would say it's a fascinating journey, even though I wrote it, but I wrote it down. It's not a story that I thought up. The story came to me and it demanded that I would write it down, which I did to the best of my ability. But it's not a fantasy story that I just came up on some Sunday morning or Sunday evening. But it was something that existed and wanted to materialize in this world. It wanted to come alive, and it chose me as its channel. But essentially, it's a story that allows you to wake up and to realize your purpose, who you really are, your place in the world, how the world works. And it gives you those important nuggets of information or wisdom, whatever you call it, that you can meditate on. And as you're following these characters and you see their mistakes and their struggle, those are not just random episodes or random scenes. Those mistakes reflect very accurately what happens to people when they try to follow their purpose, but they don't know how to do it. So essentially, this book tells you what mistakes to avoid on your path to purpose, and also obviously allows you to travel to amazing places with the characters. It starts in Tokyo, and it includes all the good things like time travel, flying dragons, everything you would expect from a book. But at the same time, you get to learn with the characters how to really navigate yourself through this reality, how to understand reality, how to understand yourself, and how to transform yourself to be of a greater service to the world. So I love it. I love escaping to this book. Sometimes I just open it on my laptop and I start reading.
Nice.
And the way it's structured, without going into too much detail, the technique is called verbal lattice. It's a verbal lattice. So essentially, it's like, imagine reading a book of Harry Potter, let's say, or The Lord of the Rings. But instead of reading the book, as soon as you open it, you actually step inside the world, and the world becomes real. So you're living in the book. This is what this book does.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of us wish books would do, and the fact that your book does that speaks to, again, your talent and how you write and tell the story. What about your new book?
So my new book, I'm quite excited about because I've been writing it for about 3 or 4 years now.
Wow.
Time flies. It's okay, so it comes in 3 parts, and part 1 is coming out this year. This is not just a book, and it's not a self-help book or a self-development book. It's a manual for a warrior in spirit on how to transform yourself step by step to become the most powerful version of yourself, and how to understand reality and how to influence reality. Because managing and crafting your reality consciously is one of the rights and duties of a warrior in spirit. You have to be in charge of the reality you're creating. You can't be a warrior if you're a victim, if you feel that things are happening to you, if you feel like, oh, poor little me being pushed around. A warrior creates his reality consciously. He takes charge of his body, his life, his mind, and this is exactly what this book is going to teach you how to do. And as I said, it has clear, very easy to understand and to follow explanations and exercises step by step that will take you from wherever you are at the time, well, whenever time in your life that you find this book, and it will explain what mistakes to avoid, which is super important. Most people fall into horrible traps on their self-development, and some of them never recover. I find it absolutely tragic. So this book tells you what mistakes to avoid, and so you can learn safely from most teachers, knowing that if something is wrong, you will be able to detect it, because it gives you a blueprint to follow. It gives you a roadmap. And it's so, so important. I can't stress enough how important it is. Most people go into self-development and it's like a forest. But it's not just any random forest. It's an IKEA forest. And so you have to put together everything yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't have a map, and nobody tells you how to do it right, or in what order, or even whether you need or you don't need certain parts.
Right.
And so, but most people create pretty much grotesque, monstrous caricatures of what they could have been. By the way, it's not said in a way of putting those people down. It's with compassion and care and genuine sadness, because I wish it was not so. And I wish it hard enough for me to sit down and to take time to write this book, because I want to give people a clear blueprint to follow that is, well, you will adjust it for yourself. But the blueprint itself is not based on the human world. It's based on the understanding of cosmic principles. So it's like the law of gravity, it's like the flow of time, you know, all the forces that are in the universe, the objective forces that exist outside of the human awareness, and they're not connected with what we're doing, but they're influencing our life in so many ways. So there are subtle forces, metaphysical forces in the universe that are also influencing and shaping our lives. And if we don't understand them, and if we deal with them blindly, it only serves to our own detriment. So it brings us down, because it's almost as dangerous, or even more dangerous, as going to a street in a big city somewhere, which you don't know. So imagine someone took you and brought you to a different city far away, and it's a huge, massive, big city. Say it's Tokyo or New York or something like that. It's really busy. So you don't know this city, but you're also blindfolded. So they leave you alone in the street, blindfolded. You can't take the blindfold off. And imagine how dangerous would it be to walk around like that. Yeah. There are so many cars, there's so many people, there are other objects, and it would be just unthinkable for anyone to want to do that. But it's exactly what happens in the self-development industry. So most people are left just like that. They're taken to regions that are really dangerous. And I keep saying that, and I want this to become common knowledge. Self-development is really dangerous. It's like going to a war zone. You have to be prepared. You have to be trained beforehand to be able to take certain kind of training. And this is what most people never tell you, because they just want your money, which is fair enough, but just the pure decency, you know, and integrity should lead, well, I wish, led the majority of people to warn their students honestly, saying, look, what we're going to do is going to be very dangerous. You have to make sure that you're prepared internally and that you're strong enough to take that. And so many people crumble. There are so many cases of, you know, let's leave alone mental diseases and disorders that it causes, but there are so many people with just broken mind and broken psyche at the end of it. I know I make it probably sound like something absolutely terrible. Well, it can be, or it can be amazing. It all depends whether you're lucky to find the right teacher, whether you're strong enough to actually offer what this journey takes. But with this book, with the codex, it's called Codex Semperis. Semperis being a Latin word for eternal, because it's a set of eternal principles. So in the codex, you will find a set of eternal principles that you can master safely alone. You don't need a teacher, you don't need anyone, you just need willingness to learn and an open mind. Because some of the paradigms in this book actually go against some of the human paradigms of the day. But you must remember that human paradigms keep changing. Like what we're thinking right now is not what we were thinking in the 1950s. And what we were thinking in the 1950s is not the same, or was not the same as what humanity thought in the 19th century or in the 15th century. So those paradigms keep changing. They're not set in stone. So being too hooked on them is not a good thing. Being focused on the eternal principles and following what is really true is what helps you become really strong. So my point is, I wanted to give people a set of principles to keep them safe and to really help them become strong. So once they know where they stand, why they have their ground, they can go out there and learn even the most dangerous techniques safely and transform themselves the way they want. But now they are protected by having this blueprint. So they're not swayed, you know, sideways, because they know where they're going. They have this unshakable identity of the warrior in spirit. And this is what you need to succeed, not just in self-development, but in general. If you want to succeed in anything, any endeavor, any choice, any career, you have to have the attitude of a warrior, a person who is not stopped by difficulties, a person who is willing to face his shadow and fight it and come out victorious. So this is what this book helps you with. It helps you understand yourself, your mind, reality, and how to transform yourself and how to take charge of your reality and start crafting it consciously, whichever way you like.
Wow. Uh, I am very excited for that book to come out. I understand it's
Me
coming out
too.
soon. I'm definitely going to be grabbing my copy when it does come out, because it sounds to me like your purpose is stamped right onto that book. You're
It
you're
is.
you're you're giving that information for a lot of, I think a lot of people always wanted that. It just sounds like that's what people were looking for. And you're right about other, there's credible authors out there who have good intentions, who write great things. But from what you're saying, what you're presenting to us, it sounds to me like that is very much what we're all looking for, at least a lot of us, or at least I am. And yeah, like, to have a guide like that sounds very important. It almost seems like it's an important book. It's not just a book that we can read.
Absolutely.
It feels like it's an important thing to have. I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it needs to be revisited. So it's something you keep by your side and keep looking into it and
Precisely.
consulting it, yeah, as you go.
Yeah.
And yes, absolutely, you're so right. Having this blueprint allows you to become unshakable, allows you to become safe in the storms of life. So you're not shaking, you know where you're going, you know where you stand for, and you know what to do if and when things go wrong. So again, it gives you that self-assurance. So you know that you can stand for yourself, you can protect others. And it's just a feeling like nothing else.
I don't know. It feels like people's minds are going to be blown when that comes out and they get their hands on that. I hope that book is successful for a lot of reasons.
That's the
Wow,
idea.
congratulations on that. Jay, I want to talk about your volunteering aspects in life. You got something really cool going on. You want
Oh
us
yes.
you want us to tell do you want to tell us about it? Can I tell people about this, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know I behave as though I didn't have enough work to do,
Yeah.
which is not true. Oh God, I'm so busy, but um, it's something that I do because it's my passion to help people, and I do a lot of charity work, by the way. So it's not what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about right now is only one side of it, but I do a lot of charity work because there are people who need my help, and
Mm.
that's the only way for them to get out of the dark pit where they found themselves. So part of what I do is joining my passion for martial arts, because in the majority of my lifetimes, I was a military person. I was a warrior of some kind. So if you ever watch me closely and you find those army-like mannerisms and you wonder where they come from, that's your answer. So and I did some fencing, not just this kind of fancy fencing, but I did medieval longsword European fencing with the large swords. I like them because they're more practical in some ways. They are your weapon and your shield at the same time. So long swords are really great like that. So I did that, and I did some Krav Maga. And part of me obviously wanted to share the joy of this balance and mindfulness and strength with people through martial arts. And at the same time, people kept telling me, even way before I ever watched Star Wars, a long time ago, almost in a galaxy far, far away, they kept telling me, they kept calling me a Jedi. Which eventually led to me watching the films because I was like, okay, I need to find out what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
And I understood why they would say that, because I teach mind mastery, body mastery. So mind strength, body strength, and some of the techniques that I use are very Jedi-like. So using the Force, I call it the light, but the essence is the same. So combining these two led me to joining one of those costume groups that actually, when you know what, if you can add my father to this, is going to be great as I'm talking. So one of those costume groups that offer lightsaber choreography to people. So I run a club in London called Aria Sabers Club. You can find us on Facebook and you can join us. And obviously, after all this madness is over and we can meet again and live our lives again, we organize free clubs, well, donation-based classes for people in London to come and learn lightsaber choreography. And you know what?
Love it.
It's fun like nothing else.
Yes.
I'm just trying to swing it, but it's not enough room. Oh, there we go.
Beautiful.
So if you feel that the Force is strong with you, or you want the Force to be strong with you, come and join us.
Yes. Well, I love it because you, in my mind, are a true living Jedi. I call you a Jedi before I call you anything else, because that's what inspires me, is your Jediism. And yeah, because you were featured in the London paper.
That's right. I appeared on TV, on Channel 5, national TV, and I appeared in The Guardian. Yes, they say I'm a real life Jedi. It's just very close. I would say, okay, I mean, so if we had the real life Jedis
of jumping sky high and going super fast and all that, I think you have the right mind, right? It's the right mind of the Jedi, and I think that's what is inspiring. I am a Star Wars fan myself, but I cling on to certain characters, such as Obi-Wan, for example, or whatnot. And there's a sophisticated respectfulness about it. So without getting too giggly about the whole idea of being a Jedi and whatnot, there's actually a seriousness to it, right? Like I should say, it shouldn't be too serious, but I mean, like there's a respectable approach to what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right. And
absolutely. It gives you some air of, well, nobility is the wrong word, but dignity. I would say it's about dignity and poise.
Wow. Well, it's exciting. And I hope people check out that part, because I actually didn't know that you had the Saber school there, and what you do. So,
well, knowing me, it was kind of predictable, inevitable, but yes, it's the closest thing to being a Jedi, I suppose, because I love my weapons. Not for offense, but for defense, as we know. A warrior needs to be able to stand for himself, and not necessarily physically, but having the attitude of unshakability is paramount. It's something that every man should have to truly tap into his masculinity.
Is there an age limit for this? Is this something you inspire to young children as well as older people? I mean, Star Wars goes 40 years now. So
oh yes, absolutely. Well, right now we work with adults simply because of the complexity of having all those permits in place to work with children. It's something that we're looking to do at some later stage, but just right now we work with adults, and there is no age limit. Your agility and your willingness to learn, this is all you need, pretty much. So if you can do it safely, so if you have enough strength and if you have enough flexibility and enough will to learn, you're welcome.
Well, that's fantastic. So just run through me one more time how everyone can get a hold of you, because you got so many things going on. You're an incredibly busy person. You must have to have a strong mind and a strong what's the word I'm looking for? Determination and to keep going on and doing all the things that you're doing. So we have your books. Their books, your books are out there. Look for them, and I'm going to have a link in connection to all of this.
My course is my newest course in preparation right now that is teaching you how to become a true warrior in spirit and a future ready hero to align with your purpose and to serve the world greatly. And even that world is just your own personal world, just you and your family, is already a great achievement. So don't think that serving the world means that you have to become like a world president of some sort. No. Save your own world first, transform your own world, and help other people in your world to become better, healthier, and stronger. And this is your contribution. This is how you become a real life superhero.
So you have an ariacreed.com, correct?
.org.
.org. You have a Facebook program for that too?
That's right. Yes, I have Facebook called Aria Creed, unsurprisingly, a YouTube channel of the same name, Instagram of the same name. So it's fairly, fairly congruent.
I like the YouTube channel myself. I subscribe, so I see all your videos on that. So that's where I'm a visual person, so I really like to see that.
Same.
So you got the books, you got the YouTube channel, you got the .org. You got all kinds of things. Did I forget anything?
Not really, no. As I said, my online presence is fairly consistent throughout all my channels. So if you Google Aria Creed, then you will find whichever way resonates with you. Because if you prefer reading, I have a blog. If you prefer watching videos, then I have my YouTube. And if you like reading short quotes and have your questions answered in a more concise format, then I have Instagram.
Good stuff.
And Facebook as well.
And Facebook. Well, thank you very much, Jay. This has been a really exciting chat with you. We learned
the pleasure
so much,
was mine,
and I wish you all the success, and thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the world. It's inspiring, and I hope to maybe have you back someday, and we can
absolutely. I would be delighted to talk to you again. I really enjoyed our chat. It was great.
Well, thank you. Well, until next time then, Jay, take care.
Thank you again, and all the best. Take care.
I wish you well.